Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Lai. I'm a solution architect from Veeam Software. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. My topic today will be hypervisor migrations, keeping data safe in a changing industry. While waiting for the rest of people to join the sessions, let me do some housekeeping. Uh, you were automatically muted during entry. However, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A functions. Okay, I will try my best to reply or answer your questions at the end of these sessions. Then we also will share the slide and also the recording via email. Most likely will be a week or 2 weeks. Without further ado, now let's start the session. There are many catalysts in the market today and many key drivers driving this change. One of the first one we want to start with is the economic factors. We all know that everyone's budget is being scrutinized heavily. For the last 3 or 4 years, every business in every industry has experienced a global pandemic. Not to forget, we also had a military actions going all over the places and trade relation problems that are affecting all companies. There's just been a shift in how we live, where we live, and how we do business. And of course, how we keep our data, and all of these add up to an additional cost plus complexity as well. Now, add in regulatory and also compliance requirements, companies are having to keep more data than they ever before for a long period of times, and these data need to be remain secure and accessible, adding to the additional cost as well. Finally, the growing and ever-present risk of cyber attacks. Everyone is at risk, and your backup data are the primary target. Security initiatives are really beginning to negatively affect other budgets around the workplace due to rampant rise in attacks as well. We can also combine this with that second box called market forces. Big fish eat the smaller fish. We have seen that with the Broadcom and VMware lately. Some of these things are heavily driving some of these economic factors as well. Consider the sheer cost increase that many of you have been seeing Broadcom or VMware demand for renewal, either from 100%, 300%, or even 1000% as well in some reported cases. Adding to this, most of the partners all have to reapply for the partner status with VMware, with many of the smallest partners being denied access to the programs. This really put pressures on the SMB market, especially as they will have to make a decision of staying with VMware or migrating to another platforms. And with that comes with a potential shift in backup software and processes as well. The notions of digital transformations was supposed to have been a driving change, yet we are seeing it from the shift in the hypervisor market. The hypervisor was only supposed to change once we digitalize transform the business. Digital transformations is now having to be accelerated for many companies as they seek to move from on-premise virtualization solutions to a potential cloud-based solution as well. Now let me share with you on the survey that we have already sent to 1,200 organizations. This is the survey from basically focused on APJ region. From the survey itself, 56% of these organizations, they likely to change their backup solutions for this year. And not only that, 92% of organizations, they already start to increase their data protection budget as well. And we do foresee the data protection budget are expected to grow by 6.6%. So you decide to change, what's next, right? The first thing that we are going to look at will be governance, risk, and compliance. This is one categories in IT that come with a penalty, including prison, extreme fines, brand damage, loss of the customers, ultimately resulting in many companies going out of business. When you are talking about switching hypervisor, you also look into migrating data at that point as well. When you are doing a data migrations, you cannot afford to lose data. You cannot also run your backup while you're doing migrations. However, this may cause regulation and compliance requirements, right? Which require you to have your data when it's needed as well. And not forget, when we talk about migration data, there's always a risk, okay? If you decide to move to the cloud, some of the things that you also need to look at will be regulatory frameworks and also data security as well. Next, let's take a look at data security and data integrity. When we look into data security, this is talking about making sure that your data is immutable. That means it cannot be changed, deleted, or even encrypted as well. But from an integrity standpoint itself, whatever orders the 1 and 0 that originally located, they need to be the same way once you already migrated. When we discuss doing that level of migrations, what are some of the key data security or integrity concerns that come into your mind? The biggest one on the data integrity side is the traditional backup problem. When we transition from one backup vendor to another, suddenly you probably will lose all the data history. You still must maintain your old backup environments because you might need to restore something from 3 years ago, 7 years ago, or until whatever your record retention policy goes away. This is something that can easily be overlooked when you start to look talking about hypervisor migrations. If you go into something new, you may ask yourself, how do you return to that old state? It's not just the data, it is mainly the specific state of the VM or even the patch level that the VM might have been given at a point in time. The end state is returning to the business as usual. If you build a house, you may want to build a complete house. That is how you make money, weeks and weeks on the end of offline, or not being able to build. That is not how any of you listening today want to make money. Returning to business as usual is critical, but failing at any point in time is even worse. In that rush to return to business as usual, we always strive to achieve redundancy, validating with scenario-based testings, ensuring that all the capability that the business is relying on are deployed, reliable, stable, and sufficient as well. Migrating data is a pain process. However, some things that we still need to look at, especially when we talk about the recent disasters such as CrowdStrike incidents that mainly impacted all the airlines, banking, and some industry as well. Lesson learned from here is you don't put all into one basket. There are few considerations that you need to look at when you're migrating your business applications. First and foremost, you need to look at data freedom. How is your business application can easily move from between hypervisors from on-premise or even on the cloud? Second, does your existing backup software able to protect your data when you transitions to a new platform? Not only that, you also need to look at how reliable and secure to recover your data and also your application as well. And last but not least, how's your existing backup software easily help to migrate from one platform to another, either to different hypervisors or even to the cloud as well. Another survey for data protection trend 2024 for APJ. Okay, so this is the one of the hybrid clouds, which is we asked all the companies for 2020 to 2016, what's their plan? From here, we're able to see that 27% of organizations, they still run on hypervisors, right? 26% they still have a physical workload because some of the workload cannot be virtualized. And of course, we do see a transition whereby organizations start to move their workload into the cloud as well. And this represents the number of 47%. Now, once you have migration complete, we want to return it to a steady state. Let's look on the operation side. Okay, first and foremost, make sure whatever migration things that you perform, you need to make sure that you have all the proper documentations, including the architectures, and also finalizing all the changes as well. Besides than that, you must make sure that you perform testing and verification to make sure that your environment is what you expected as well. And not to forget, when you're moving to a new platforms, you need to look into training as well. You must make sure that you equip all the knowledge for your staff as well. And last but not least, when we look into the backup solutions, you need to start to think about how long you want to keep it, depend on your compliance and obligations. Okay, my advice is don't guess. Okay, try to get your legals and regulations comply as well to make sure that it's compliant and according to your auditings. So you already have your business runnings, right? What's the next step that you need to make sure? First and foremost, as what I just mentioned, you need to make sure that you do verifications of your workload. Make sure all your VM and applications is running as expected as well. All right. Then you also need to make sure during the migrations, any changes of incrementals, make sure it's being moved successful as well. Okay. You also need to make sure that you identify the application owners because application owners own the business applications, right? The second things that you need to look at will be proper monitoring and securities. Okay, you need to make sure that you have a proper tools to do monitorings of your applications and data as well. Verify all the metrics has been collected and also according to what you are expected the result as well. You need to make sure your firewall rules and security software are adjusted according to the new environments, right? And last but not, the third one, not to forget as well, data protections. Make sure all your data that you migrate are all protected, okay, has been backup successful, and you need to make sure that you do backup verifications and testing as well, right? The next thing will be you need to make sure that you validate your data to workflow. Okay, make sure that you already create a new VM template for your new hypervisor. All right. So if you do have a self-service portal, okay, or you want to have in place of provisioning process as well, you need to make sure it's all being tested and validated as well. And of course, you need to make sure all the integrations are working well as well. Once everything has been successfully tested and according to what you expected, you can start to look into the last stage by decommissioning of your workload, right? So when you do decommissioning, the first thing that you need to do is you need to start to look into removing access when and wherever necessary, right? You want to make sure that your data are remain secure, and probably if you want, you can also delete the data as well, right? One thing that before we proceed, you also need to review and evaluate all the support contracts, right? Especially for your old environments to make sure that you have proper cancellations to avoid any additional renewable costs as well. So with here today, what I want to share with you, we do provide you a choice when you're doing a hypervisor migrations. Just a quick run through on the Veeam solutions. Nobody beat Veeam in terms of virtualizations. Okay, we have been very famous in the market in terms of virtualization protections, right? Well, we are not only protects on one hypervisor, such as VMware, we do protect agentless for Microsoft Hyper-V, Nutanix Acropolis, and also KVM such as Red Hat virtualizations, Oracle Linux virtualizations, and of course, the next one, the new hypervisor that we are going to release is Promox Hypervisor. If you do have a workload on the cloud, we do have a cloud native as well. We do have a solution on AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud as well. So when I talk about cloud native, means that you do not need to install an agent. We can talk directly to the cloud hypervisors, and we can back up natively as well. So our key point here is we want to help you to protect, migrate, and win the deal as well. First and foremost, as what I just mentioned just now, no one beat Veeam in terms of virtualization protections. We are very famous of backup and recoveries, and we are pioneer on this. You can refer to the Gartner's Magic Quadrants and also IDC market share as well. We already currently ranked as number 1. In case of any disasters, you can do instant recovery. So it's a proven technology which allow you to recover and bring up your workload within less than 3 minutes, right? And not to forget as well, our solutions are not only focusing on on-prem, but we also have a solutions on the cloud as well. And you do not need to have additional costs when you look into these solutions. So beside them, protect, the next one will be, you can also use Veeam to do platform migrations. Okay, we do help a lot of customers to do migrations from one platform to another, such as from VMware to Hyper-V, or even from Hyper-V to Nutanix or Acropolis, or even vice versa as well, right? You do not need to struggles when you're doing migrations. It's just all one click, right? Our main importance of our tool is we allow you to keep your business running seamlessly while you're doing migrations. And the most important thing is all these migrations will be secure, and of course it will be consistent across the different virtualization platforms. Okay, our tagline is just work, right? So this is the feedback from most of the customers when they start to use Veeam, not only to protect and to do recovery, they also use it to do migrations. Our main focus here is we want to keep your business up and running. Okay, we do not want you to focus more on the how to do backup and recovery as well. So for Veeam itself, we have a single platform which provide you a complete freedoms, control, and visibility in one single dashboard as well, right? The most important thing is we don't lock you. You can easily move your backup data from one platform to another platforms, either from on-premise to another on-premise, or even to the cloud as well. All right, even on the cloud, you can also bring back your data to on-prem. So we are here. We want you to make sure that you think about Veeam as a part of the journey when you're doing a migrations, right? So when we look into here, first and foremost, before you migrate to a different hypervisors, before migrations, right? You can use Veeam to do testing and backup verifications, right? You can test all this in our data lab. So it's a secure, isolated environment, right? Powered by features called Sure Backup. You can power on your backup data from the backup data and perform testings. Once you already test everything is working fine, right? You can start to look into migrations. Not only that, you can also use Veeam One. Okay, it's a monitoring and reporting products whereby you can use it to validate all your recovery points. Make sure before you do migrations, all your existing backup or all your existing data must be backed up successful as well. Okay, and not forget, we do provide Veeam Threat Center dashboard. Okay, so this is the new features on 12.1 that we released early of this year, right? So this single dashboard itself allow you to view a security vulnerability risk, okay, that you deploy in your whole entire environments, right? Now let's move on during migrations. So you can also use Veeam, especially on the Veeam one, to monitor for any of the hypervisors error, right? So in case of anything issues, they will trigger an alert as well and give you a notification. So you can leveraging on Veeam one to do monitoring and make sure you fulfill all the compliance, right? So now after migrations, so what's next, right? After migrations, it's also very important that you also need to do backup verifications. You can use the same technology called Data Lab, okay, to validate, right? And of course, After you migrate, you also need to start your backup as well. You can do monitoring and validate your recovery point by using Veeam 1. Now, when we look into platform migrations, Veeam protects the whole entire process of your migration journey, right? Our key focus here is we want to keep your business up and running, all right? As a pioneers of virtualizations, data protections, especially on the VMware platforms, we are not only help you to protect and recovers, we also help you to do movements of your data and management as well, right? As a single platform to do migrations, we provide you what we call intelligent migration experience, right? We do have a whole range of products, which we call it in the Veeam data platforms. So this particular Veeam data platforms is an intelligent migration platforms whereby you can use it to protect different kind of workload, to protect, recovers, and also do migration as well, right? So we want you provide you a seamless experience, which provide a complete, secure, and consistent protections when you're moving your workload from either from one hypervisor to another hypervisor or even to the cloud as well. And the most important thing is dollar and cents. Okay, we want to avoid additional costs. Okay, sometimes when you look into migrations, uh, some of the partners or vendors they will probably charge you a different cost for migration tool, right? Uh, as what I just mentioned, you can also use Veeam as a data migrations. So once you already bought Veeam or even existing Veeam customers, they can leveraging on Veeam solutions to provide not only backup, but you can also use it as a migration tool to migrate your whole entire old platforms to a new platforms, right? So if you look at here, there's no additional cost that you incur. And the most important thing is you don't need an additional skill set to do migrations, right? So when we look into minimize the cost, okay, our tagline is just work, right? First and foremost, we want to make sure that you accelerate your business, okay, keeping your migrations process to the lowest, okay, and we want to make sure that everything has been restored successful, okay, whatever things that you back up using Veeam, you're able to recover without any problems, right? We don't want you to spend more times on the recovery process, but we want to make sure that your business can be up and running as fast as possible. The most important tagline, freedom and control, right? When you're using Veeam, we give you a flexibilities of moving your data, right, from one platform to another platform. We even give you a flexibility of selecting of any of the hardware brands that you can use it as a backup target. Okay, we don't lock you. Whatever data that you backup, you can easily move from on-premise to the cloud, from the cloud back to on-premise as well. So for the whole entire process, there's no data locking. All right, moving your data or even protecting your data, right? There's no lock-in. You can easily use Veeams to do a backup and recovers your data, either to original locations, to different hypervisors, or even to the cloud as well. Right? So that's all for my sessions. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A. All right. So if no questions, that's all for today. Thank you very much and see you next time.